You made it to the third edition of SYND Road to COP webinar series, and I am brimming with much excitement to be your singular moderator for this edition. This webinar series is hosted by the Strategic Youth Network for Development with support from the British Council, the British High Commission, Africa Climate Reality Project, Youth NREG as well. My name is Sapo Dankwa, and like I said, I'll be your chauffeur and moderator for this edition. I lead on Children for Climate Action at the Strategic Youth Network for Development, where we raise awareness of climate change and environmental sustainability among children. And today being a holiday, and for Ghanaians, we just say a happy holiday to all Ghanaians. As a matter of fact, extending it to the rest of our African brothers and sisters as we mark Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day, one of the Pan-African leaders who led a revolution for independence for African countries. And we are having this edition on that day. And so we expect nothing but great conversations, thought-provoking conversations to help us to understand all that it is for this particular topic. The Road to COP28 webinar series, as it states, is a series of unique dialogues and conversations which facilitate knowledge sharing and learning among young people and anyone who is young at heart for the discussions on issues pertaining to COP matters. And what we do is that we are so mindful that COP has technical issues and terminologies as well. So we bring panelists who would also do their bits by breaking down these terminologies and concepts to granular bits and help us to understand what it means to be at COP, what it means to meet certain concepts that may be mind-boggling to us pertaining to COP. And today is no different. We have seasoned panelists who are already on the call and ready to help us understand these issues. And as your chauffeur and moderator, I would, you might want to sit down tight and brace yourself and fasten your seatbelt, because I am sure that you'll be exploded away, because we have diverse experiences. We have the presence of diverse experiences on this call, and will be helping us to understand the issues pertaining to COP. I think it's worth noting our previous editions, the first and the second, what we talked about, because we've come far from this for this Road to COP webinar series. The first edition of SYND Road to COP28 webinar series focused on pathway to COP28, and it was narrowed down to the updates from the subsidiary body pertaining to global stocktake. The second edition was focused on just energy transition, and you would bear with me that energy is a matter of national security, so it's very important that we handle this situation as well. And we looked at Africa's position towards COP28. And you would also bear with me that Africa has its own capacity and vulnerability when it comes to the impact, the negative impact of climate change. And so it was very important. We had to stay on the call to draw from thought-provoking conversations that was also facilitated by the head of climate change program at SYND, Patience Ejikum, who also had panelists who helped us to understand the position of Africa towards COP28. We may not be able to transition like all the other continents or nations that we have right here on this globe. And so these were the respective editions we had, first and second, with these unique topics that were discussed on. And I hope that for our participants who are on the call, cherished participants who are on the call, who joined the previous sessions, you would testify that it's really built your capacity, and what you did not know, you've learned something new, and you've also built upon the knowledge that you previously had. And I believe that you are expecting that this edition will be nothing less but also do more as it did for you for the previous editions. So let's just take note of some housekeeping rules as we continue to join us. We stay on the call. Kindly, please stay muted so that we can reduce the drudgery of noise for this particular edition. Let's also take note that as we have joined, also kindly introduce yourself in the chat box, your name and your organization. And let's network on this call. Let's use this opportunity to network as well on this virtual space. Also, we have allocated time for us to get interactive with our panelists. And so as they speak, as questions come up, as we have this conversation, please note your questions down, note your contributions and your comments down so that when it's time for that interaction, questions and answers, you would be also able to get interactive with them as well. So let's get on with introducing our seasoned panelists so that we can begin our conversation. The first on our panelist list who accepted and confirmed his availability is Prince Nanako Isel, a Ghanaian by descent, and he's an award-winning energy access specialist with over 5 years experience in energy access and energy transition. He is known for his vision and in-depth knowledge of business models and innovations to access clean, affordable, and reliable energy for last-mile African populations. He is the co-founder of EcoNexus Ventures Limited, a Ghanaian-based social enterprise commercializing sustainable bioethanol fuel as an alternative clean cooking solution in Ghana and the sub-region through the valorization of organic waste and agro byproducts. In July 2018, he became the youngest Ghanaian ever to be selected among 14 bioenergy experts in Ghana by the German government to attend the annual Expert Information Seminar on Power Supply from Bioenergy held in Munich, which is in Germany. Currently, he's a member of the Ghana coordinating team for the World Energy Council's Future Energy Leaders Program and the regional focal point for the United Nations Major Groups SDG 7 Youth Constituency for Western and Central Africa. And he has a lot of awards and honors to his hard work and merits. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Eko Isel, Prince Nana Eko Isel on the call. Our second panelist is the head of energy program at the Strategic Youth Network for Development in the person of Priscilla Adogo Ahiada, who is a dedicated young lady and passionate about energy access in Africa. From 2021 till now, she has been organizing conferences and planning events that will encourage energy access, especially among women. She has many merits to her hard work as well. Like I said, she leads on energy access together with her team, who have held successful grassroots campaigns for energy access and the promotion and advocacy of the use of energy efficient appliances in Ghana, and also organizing conferences around just transition in Ghana as well. She has coordinated a successful research to get the perspective and knowledge and views from women on the use of clean cooking stove. And she led the team to also launch and operate one of the successful projects at SYND, the Young Green Entrepreneurs, which is currently running the first cohort to help and promote the businesses of green entrepreneurs in Ghana, which are led by young people. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let us also welcome Priscilla Adogo Ahiada on the call. We have Paul Kaluki Mutuku on the call as well. He is a climate justice and environmental defender from Kenya. He has led and supported and advocated for strong climate action in Kenya, from the successful Decolonize campaign to leading education for sustainable development for schools, training and advocating for nature-based solutions, and championing for sustainable diets, restoration, agroforestry, and ecological farming practices. Kaluki has a background in environmental conservation and natural resource management from the University of Nairobi, and he is currently the Africa Director at Youth for Nature, the co-founder and executive director at Kenya Environmental Action Network. Ladies and gentlemen, let us also welcome Kaluki on the call. Thank you so much for joining us. We have Jennifer Kwakwa-Sapon, who is the next on our list as a panelist, CEO of Biddy Green Ghana Limited, which produces eco-friendly and smokeless charcoal from agro waste. So Biddy Green produces smokeless charcoal, and since her involvement in leadership role for this green innovation, she has received notable achievements, including Inactus Ghana 2017 and 18 national competition. She has also been the winner for the Total Startup Challenge and Global Youth Advancement Summit in 2019. And recently, she was a second runner-up in the Pitch to Save the World and presidential pitch competitions held this year in 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, let us also welcome Jennifer Kwakwa-Sapon. And our last panelist on the call is Joy Haley Munthali, who is a youth activist and a passionate environmental educator. She is the founder and current executive director of Green Girls Platform, a female-led initiative that works to address the unique challenges that girls and women face due to the negative impact of climate change in Malawi. Green Girls Platform is also the co-founder of the We Trust Youth, a global initiative that was set up to challenge and support youth-focused donors and NGOs to partner and fund young people more intentionally and equitably. Joy is also an advisor for the Global Resilience Fund, and she was the Malawian youth delegate to the Climate Change Conference of Parties, the 25th conference, COP28, in 2019, and also a delegate from Malawi attending the Youth for Driving Climate Ambition in 2021 and 2022, respectively. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome all our panelists on the call. And our panelists, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to the third edition of the Road to COP28 webinar series hosted by SYND. Hello, Kaluki. Hello, Prince. Hello, Priscilla. Hello, Joy. Hello, Jennifer.
Hello, Sapo.
If you can hear us, please.
Hi.
Hello.
Awesome, awesome. It's great to have you on the call. And I believe that this is going to be thought-provoking conversation that is going to really help us understand the theme for this edition, which is amplifying youth voices and innovation at COP28. And COP28 is fast approaching. And as it stands, just to set the context, we are fully aware by many international reports that Africa is a youthful population or has a youthful population. And according to many international reports, including the World Bank, we are also made aware that Africa is the hardest hit in regards to the negative impact of climate change. And even though climate change poses a severe threat to Africa, locked up in these threats are opportunities to bring us out of the pits of these threats and take us out of poverty, and more like kill many birds with one stone or one solution. And as it's very much, as we are very much aware, we are also in the known that the International Conference of Parties, the COP, is always focused on how we can have discussions and then based on the ones in the rooms and the side events and the capacity building hubs and all of those things. Those conversations are all geared towards helping us to develop solutions and make commitments and pledges to make sure that we are on track to solving the issue of climate change. And so I believe that we are also aware that many more young people continue to attend COP, but we just want to focus on this theme, amplifying youth voices and innovations at COP28, to see the strategic ways that young people who continue to attend COP and are interested in even attending these international gatherings would make the best out of it. And so just to set the tone and to have all of us speaking on this conversation, I just want to find out from us. I'll begin with you, Prince, that with your exposure to international platforms such as COP and others, I think it will be very great to hear from you, your story, your experience of you being in these spaces, and what kind of value it has also added to you and your green initiative that you run.
Yeah, thank you very much, Safo. Sorry, I'm a bit under the weather, so my voice might have some it might have some low pitch. Okay. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity. I would like to start by talking briefly about my engagement even on other platforms before COP. That was last year. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Amazing. Yeah, so my first international platform was at the Africa Energy Generation Prize. That was way back 2016, right? And it was an opportunity for me to pitch my innovation or my idea or business concept. And it was no other place than our neighboring country, Lome. But I must say that platform also gave way for me to have another opportunity in Nigeria, Lagos, for the Africa Energy Ideas Competition. Yeah, and from there, like a year later, I was selected to be on the ENI international contest in Rome. So I'm just giving some kind of a background to all these, and they are all connected to in one way or the other, you know. And from there, it was another platform in Switzerland and Germany and the rest, you know. So all along, it's actually started from Lome. After that kind of like engagement, I got the COP invitation way back to that kind of engagement I had in Lome, and it was from International Renewable Energy Agency ARENA. So it goes to say that, I mean, it was like a humble beginning then in Lome, but little did I know that it is going to have this kind of connections all the way up to sharing a platform with head of state at COP last year. You know, it was truly and a very interesting opportunity for me. And luckily, the innovation or the solution that I'm promoting, it's also sitting in the heart of the sustainable, the universal or the global sustainable goals, you know. So that actually threw a lot of like light to what we are doing, gave us a lot of visibility here and there. And to date, we've had some form of even financial resources that are all connected to these platforms, you know. So I must say it has been very helpful, and it just started with one platform where I took the opportunity and then I made the most out of it, you know. And yeah, so basically it has to do with you, I mean, each and every one. I'm sure there are a lot of like youth participants here. Um, I must say that some of these platforms are at the initial stage might not really have a lot to offer, you know, but I would advise that whichever platform that you find yourself on, you should be able to, I mean, send the message across. You should be able to really project yourself, and then whatever you are being, I mean, profiled for, or whatever you are promoting, you know, um, that's that is the pretty much that's what I would say for my initial engagement on these international platforms. Yeah.
Experience. Thank you very much, Prince. That's a lot to learn from your experience. I mean, humble beginnings, beginning from Lome on your pitch. I think it's worth noting and remarkable. Thank you so much. But then let's move to Kaluki. Kaluki, I think it will also good to hear from your perspective how you also began from Kenya. Probably maybe not from there, but let's hear from your experience on international platforms, how you've been able to handle yourself and also to push for amplifying the voices of young people, and even your campaign, the campaign that you were also part of, Decolonize campaign.
Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. Glad to join the call and really happy that we get to create a platform for African youth and African climate advocates actually share experiences and contribute to the discussion. So I think my journey is not different from that of Prince. Mostly I've engaged in the region in several capacities and several initiatives, one of them being the Kenya Environmental Action Network that I'm heading, but also running several programs. One called Africa Youth Caravan to COP. So last year we had one to COP27, and this year we're planning another caravan to COP28. I'm also a former Africa director at Youth for Nature, and recently I just, started getting on a global project called Inuka that is working on with young people in Africa to scale their nature-based solutions on the ground projects. I'm also engaging in several other capacities. But to just respond to your question, I think my first interaction with global climate spaces was in 2019 when I joined the New York Climate Week at the UNGA Assembly with Youth for Nature and the subsequent COP25 in Madrid, Spain. And then I think after that, I went to the COP in the UK. Last year was by that time going to the COP in Egypt. And several of these have been because of the kind of advocacy we do in Africa. Personally, the Decolonize campaign has been a strong addition to my engagement in these key platforms. I've also been able to represent in the regional climate weeks, and especially the Africa Climate Weeks for last year in Gabon. And also this year was the secretariat that was organizing the Africa Climate Summit just in Kenya last month. And I think what this has done to me is, number one, allowing me to interact and connect more with people, young people, experts, and leaders from different countries and different backgrounds, so that it also helps me to inform what leadership I'm bringing back to Keen. It has helped me to network with funders, investors, but also development partners who, for some reasons, really unlock the potential on young people's projects on the ground through financing, technical support, and other interventions. But also it has allowed me to, what I call the most important thing, to bring the solutions that personally I do have and youth within my constituency do have in the youth space and in Africa. So being able to, go to these forums, discuss and share the solutions and projects that young people are doing across Africa, and actually showcasing the challenges they're facing while doing these projects on the ground has been a very very fulfilling engagement for me. And so I'll say such regional and global climate and environmental forums are very necessary. They're very helpful and at times impactful, especially for young people who go there with an intention to network, to connect, to, pitch their ideas and get back and train their communities and their peers on the learnings that they get from these engagements. For now, I think I'll stop there and back to you.
Wow, that's interesting, and then a lot to take in. But I think it's as an experience that we can draw a lot of inspiration from, that there is more that many more young people can also do to make sure that our voices are heard. But then I want to come to Jennifer. Jennifer, I see that you've been part of the pavilion at AU Youth Startup. You were a winner there. You were also part of the Total Startup Challenge and Global Youth Advancement Summit in 2019. With these in mind, kindly let's have your experiences, the experiences you had on this particular platforms.
Okay, thank you so much. So right from even before it got to the AU Pavilion, it was how we started from the grassroots as Pretty Green, and my team coming together. This was just something we're exploring on a community level. We didn't really, at the time, knew of its commercial potential. So when we grew up and over the years, and then it got to the point where we're actually commercializing it, and we got the recognition by the AU Startup Pavilion. It was, giving us the spotlight where you realize that Bitty Green has a really center role play when it comes to climate change action. And also with our role in Total Startup Challenge, my team, a representative from my team also, represented Bitty Green at that stage, where it was really applauding to get to see that there are a lot of interest and there's a lot of acceptance for what we are doing, because it means that it might not be very important to every people, but like it's basically you see the relevance, you see how much the potential of what we are doing has on a larger scale, especially when it comes to our local markets. And it's our local markets that also really holds, the larger population of our country, because when you're talking of the rural folks, you see them to constitute a majority part of the country. So what affects them affects the majority part of the country. So with what we are doing, we are glad to know that we are focusing on the grassroots problem, and that we are not only focusing on maybe where we could benefit most when it comes to profits, but we are looking at where we could impact most when it comes to sustainability and when it comes to the climate action. So all these experiences that we've had, from Enactus national competition, the world competition, to Ford C3 Challenge, through to the African Union Startup Pavilion, through to the Total Startup Challenge, the Global Summit, the Pitch to Save the World, even the presidential pitch, they've all shown us that we do have a great impact model, and that is what builds up our business model, and that is what we need to stay focused on. And we're glad that we're definitely on that course as it is now.
Interesting experience. And I'm sure that most of our participants are also seated and then attentively listening as we draw inspiration from all our panelists. But then let's take Joy's experience. Joy, you've been one of the delegates for COP28 in 2021, and also a delegate for Youth Driving Climate Ambition in 2022. We would like to also listen from you, your experience, how you were able to handle all of these advocacy platforms.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. So for me, I think for COP25, I attended it when I was just coming up as a climate activist, and I did not have full experience on what young people are supposed to do at COP, because our country does not still have like a formal training for young people for COP, the Conference of Parties, as well as global initiatives. And so I had to learn while I was there, which was not good. But through my experience at COP, I learned that young people really need to be in those spaces. And I was the only youth delegate from Malawi in 2019. And so from that, I actually took that as a learning point for me as a young person, especially as a young woman, on how it was my duty to make sure that no one else had to go to COP without actually getting the training and understanding what the COP was about and what the UNFCCC was doing in different countries. And it was also fortunate because that was the year before COVID. And it gave us enough experience to learn, but also to know how working together can help us as different countries to come up with initiatives that help globally. And so I also had to learn how I was going to help young people in Malawi to actually negotiate for climate change. And so after I came back from COP25, I talked to our government officials and also some of my international friends on how we can build the capacity of young people in Malawi to be negotiators on climate change, but also to shadow negotiators. And so it took us a long time to get there, but we're able to train at least 35 young women in Malawi. And now they're the ones that have to go and negotiate on behalf of girls and young women in Malawi on climate change. And we also got the chance to train men as well. So we trained 3 because our funding was only targeting girls and young women, so it couldn't go to boys, but it also targeted men because we wanted to get to have an inclusive number, and they're also part of the negotiators that go to COP. And so going there and handling that without actual experience helped me to actually learn on how it was pivotal for young people to be involved in negotiations. And when it came to Youth for Climate Driving Ambition, it was just easy for me because I knew what I was supposed to do and what I was bringing to the table as a young person. And that was one of the best experiences I've ever had as a youth climate activist, because I met so many young people from different countries that were working on different initiatives. And from our discussions, it was clear that we all wanted to take action, not only to be part of the conversations, but to also power action in our different countries. And so just having that kind of exposure and learning on how, as young people, we can power action and not only be backbenchers or people that are seen as victims of climate change, but learn from each other and also build each other's capacity to make sure that we are actually taking up spaces in different global spaces. And it also helped me to learn how to use the networks that I had, but also to learn how I can capitalize on the knowledge that I have to make sure that I'm representing the voices of young people from Malawi very well in different global spaces. So basically that was part of my experience, and it also is something that helped me to move from just being an advocate, but actually taking action at a local level and making sure that I'm not only representing the voices that are marginalized, but also being part of the process to learn while doing different initiatives and learn through experiences so that I can be able to represent the voices of young people from Malawi clearly. So yeah, that was part of my experience.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Joy, for your experience. I myself, I'm getting inspired from the different experiences that all of you have shared. And I believe that our participants are also putting some things down and rapidly listening. But if you just joined us on the call, this is the 3rd edition of S1 Road to COP webinar series. And our theme for this edition is amplifying the voices of young people and innovation at COP28. And so we want to encourage all of us that your questions, your comments are all welcome at the allocated time that we'll be having to interact with the panelists as well. But as our panelists were speaking, there are some notable things that I just want to flag out just for our attention. And it is that all of them began somewhere. And so it doesn't matter whatever you are doing, even if it's at the grassroots, just make sure that you are doing what you're doing. They spoke about impact. They spoke about impact. And so let's also take notes of that. And they spoke about teamwork, working in teams. So let us also take notes of that. But then from here, let's just continue the conversation as I call in the other panelist, Priscilla Adogo-Ahiada. Prissy, you head the energy program at SYND, and like you said in your profile, you have a lot of engagements and conferences. And one notable thing you also mentioned was that you also run one of your projects, the Young Green Entrepreneurs Project. So from your experience in engaging these young people, how can we what would you suggest as a pathway that young people can collaborate with us, CSOs, private sector, government agencies, so that they can receive the needed support and which will promote their voices as we head towards COP28?
Hello, Sapo. Can you hear me? Hi, everyone. Thank you once again for the opportunity. Thank you so much for the question. I would begin by saying that as the head of energy access at SYND, I've had the opportunity to work with some stakeholders, like from the various sectors. I've worked with the Ministry of Energy Commission in Ghana, some private institutions alike. But to answer the question, I would say that to effectively collaborate with these state agencies, we as young people need to build some level of trust and also build strong partnerships between us and these state institutions. How can we build these partnerships? How can we build these partnerships or this trust between us? We need to, proactively attend workshops, forums that are of interest to us, very relevant ones, because that's where we are going to, meet these state stakeholders or state institutions, these private people, for us to have a conversation on whatever we need to do. Also, when we leverage on we can leverage on the power of our voices and then bring to attention whatever we seek to address as young people. So we can start by organizing youth-led campaigns. We participate in policy dialogues, and then we engage in some development projects. This would, create that needed attention that we need as young people for us to, amplify our voices or initiatives that we have. We even have social media, which is now a powerful tool. I need not to, elaborate more on the power that social media has, or what social media is doing nowadays, and even if you look at what we as young people are doing with social media, it speaks for itself. So we can also utilize, we can make use of social media platforms to bring on board some states or address some issues that we need change to be on. I would also like to speak to the fact that we as young people, we always complain that we need a seat at the table, but then we need to build our capacity, because when you are able to build your capacity and have the needed knowledge or skill, that's when you'll be given a seat at the table to also amplify or make your voices heard. But if you are given a seat at the table and then you are not able to, bring something tangible to the table, then there's no way they are even going to listen to you or collaborate with you on anything that you are saying. They are not even going to listen to you. But if you come to the table well-informed, you have your right facts, the needed skills that is needed at that particular time, you'll be able to, also address some issues. They will even call upon you and also partner with you on other relevant projects. I take, for instance, we were at the UAE embassy the other day, and the ambassador was talking to us about how other CSOs or youth groups came in. They just came to present their thoughts or came to. I'm not trying to shame them. I was like, when we went in there, we presented to the ambassador what we were doing, some of the past projects or interventions that we did at SYND, how it has affected communities and the impact that we've made. We show them things that we've done, which to them was very impressive, because they claim that the rest or people who come to them just come and talk, but don't show them something evident. What am I saying? We've projected something to them and they've seen what we are doing. So even if they are going to do a project or an intervention, they know that there's a youth-led organization who is willing, or who has the capacity, or who has the needed skills or expertise that we need on this particular project. Then they'll be able to collaborate and then partner with us on that. So if you ask me how young people can collaborate, these are the ways I think young people can collaborate with CSOs and state institutions.
Amazing, amazing. So we build our capacity to make sure that we can get a seat at the table and have tangible comments or contribution added to the ongoing conversation. Thank you so much, Prissy, for your response to finding out how young people can collaborate with CSOs, private sector, and government agencies so that their voices can be heard. But then, Joy, I would like to come to you. Your experience at COP, your experience that you shared, one person said is very insightful, and she feels very transformational after hearing you, even though she joined late. But Joy, I just want to find out from you, has social media been a thing for you in this journey? Have you leveraged on the power? If yes, can you tell us how and your experience, the experiences you had in using social media to amplify your voice, and specifically how you were able to chart your own path with it? Hello, Joy. I think Joy is experiencing a bit of a challenge with her network. Okay. Okay. When Joy comes back, we will try to draw from this well of experience. But then I would like to come to Prince, and then we continue the conversation with it. Prince, you mentioned that you run a venture, the EcoNexus venture, that is also making sure that people in Ghana, the local people, and even others who are also, of course, definitely cook just like anybody else cook. You're providing clean cooking solution for them. Just want to find out from you how you were able to start this big idea. What was the motivation? What was the passion? So that we can draw from your experience on this one as well, and any other challenge that probably you faced. I believe that there are a lot of young people on this call who may have ideas or who are potentially idea factories in this sector, and I believe this can help them.
Yeah, you're right. Safo, thanks once again. Yeah, I mean, this question actually brings back a lot of like memories in so one of it was I mean, where we started from. So we started with two main important questions. Okay. We observed how cooking is done, mostly among the rural and peri-urban folks, and even the urban slums, or like the middle class settlements in the urban centers. And you realize that everything was actually sinking into these two questions. And then the question was like, how can we ensure that people cook in a clean space? How can we ensure that people don't contract like health, or don't have health implications whilst cooking? You know, cooking is actually fundamental, but this particular act of nourishing one's family can lead to dangerous like health consequences, you know. And understanding all these like scenarios and trying to get answers to these questions, we sort of like went into some form of uh, analysis in with regards to even the fuel availability, um, especially with the existing fuel sources that we have. Take charcoal, for instance. We know it is polluting, right? One issue with charcoal is also with its availability. LPG is almost the same. I mean, it's one of the cleaner versions that we have, but it has issues with availability and price fluctuations here and there, you know. So gathering all these kind of information and coming from a personal background where um my grandmother was bitten by a snake while fetching firewood to cook for my mom. Um, I mean, that in itself was like a first-hand motivation for me. And it came out that um as as uh, uh as possible as it can be, no woman or young girl should go through that ordeal of being assaulted whilst trying to nourish their families. We recently took a trip to Inzulezu in one of our market activation campaigns, and we realized how a young lady was carrying firewood on a canoe on a very big lake. You know, that is really dangerous, you know. So I mean, all these things actually cemented our motivation into going into coming up with an alternative which is clean, affordable, and reliable. And to top up with that, we went a step further of just providing a fuel source and then a cook stove for cooking. And we actually added an insect repellent additive so that our users can have that flexibility of even repelling insects like mosquitoes whilst they cook, you know. So, I mean, our solution, I should say, is more like community based, like grassroots level, like Jennifer was saying, you know. Clean cooking itself is supposed to be seen in the lens of community grassroots like approach, you know. And so that is where we actually tackled the whole thing from. It wasn't easy initially, and I tell everyone on the platform that is it regardless of you having the most innovative idea, you definitely have to step up. And I like what was it, Patience or Prince, the lady before I came, I've forgotten the name. um I like what she said. She mentioned if you want a seat at the table, you need to show capacity, you know. So even if you have the most innovative idea, you need to go through that cycle. You need to be patient with the process. You understand? I started with nothing, had to defer my final year program at the University of Mines to jump on this unknown international platform in Nome. I didn't actually know what I was doing. I didn't know where this road was leading to. But I was just a semester away from graduating, and I had to just defer just because of the passion that I have for what I'm doing, you know. So first of all, it's one thing having the innovative idea, another thing having that passion, like going at length to make it realize, you know. So at any point in time or in the process, you have to be ready to pay the price. And that is in its form, in its sense, like building capacity, you understand? You would want to start off by maybe bootstrapping with your own resources, you understand? And that is great, you know, but you have a lot of opportunities with grants. One thing about grants is that it sometimes is not sustainable, you understand? But that is a sure way of starting off like any business, you understand? And it comes with it whole challenge, like it comes with a lot of challenge, sorry. So Jennifer will tell you and will share experience with pitching on platforms to raise money and it is not easy at all. Some of us had to survive food poisoning even a day before a final pitch, an enchantment in Lagos just on a pitch day. You know, so all these things, I mean, you should be able to foresee them, and you should expect them. You understand? It is not a friendly road. It has a lot of dark side, But I mean, this is not to scare you. You just need to make sure that once given the opportunity, once given the platform, you nail it. You go for gold. Okay, for me, I think if we will ever be obsessed with something in life, then it should actually be to be successful. So at all costs, whatever you are supposed to do to make sure that what you believe in is out there. You need to do it and be ready to pay the price. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prince. And thank you so much for your passion. Even though you are a bit under the weather, your passion alone is even giving us more from your wealth of experience. But I'll come back to you, Prince. I think you've answered much of our questions, but I'll come back to you. I don't know if Joy can still hear us. Hello, Joy. If you can hear us, please, you can kindly unmute. Let us hear from you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Joy, let's look at this. Tell us about your transition from being an advocate to a young green entrepreneur. What was your motivation which merited this transition? Was the advocate not enough? Was the advocacy not enough? Why did you move from the advocacy and then straight to being an entrepreneur in the green economy?
All right. Thank you. That's a good question. And I'm sorry about my network, so I'd have to keep my video off. So when I was doing advocacy work, I used to listen to people's experiences, and then because advocacy work, you're always representing other people's voices or talking on behalf of others. And so for me, it was always problematic because I feel like everyone has a voice and everyone can represent themselves, but they just need the platform to be able to do that. And so with the Green Goals, what we're doing is to provide the platforms where people are able to express themselves and where they're able to get their voices heard. And so for me to represent those voices was problematic because I want their stories to be told the way that they are, as authentic as they are. And so from the experiences that I've had with talking to women and girls in Malawi and what they're going through, I thought, what if we provided something that is sustainable, something that can help them, that can lift them out of poverty, something that can empower them in a different limelight. And so that's where the green entrepreneurship idea came in. Like, what if we came up with something that provides markets, something that is sustainable for women and girls to take up? And so we started with simple initiatives that were demand driven. For example, some women wanted to plant trees and to have tree orchards that they could sell the tree seedlings out. And for us, that was an open idea. Like, what is your business idea? What markets are you targeting, and who are your prospective buyers? And so we started looking for markets, and we started looking for other issues in other ventures that they could take up. And so from those experiences, then we were able to see that we're actually taking action and providing green entrepreneurial ventures that women and girls can take up. And I've always been passionate about entrepreneurship, and I wanted to do something that would target the Malawian market and something that is green as well as sustainable. And so we started producing cooking oil from groundnuts and went to doing sunflower, and then went to doing as well as soybean. And from those experiences, then we're able to see how we can be able to transform entrepreneurship into something that is green, and something that uses everything and is sustainable for the long run. And basically what inspired me to do this was just listening to women and listening and working with grassroots girls and young women and seeing what they were going through and what we could do to change that, and what experiences I could also gain to be able to see that I have gone through these experiences, and I'm not only talking about women and girls in Malawi, but I'm talking about my own experiences as well as an entrepreneur. And this is what the solution is, and this is what we can do. And that's what inspired the transition. Thank you.
What of the strategies that led to molding and amplifying these voices, and what are some of the success that you can share with young participants? Hello, Kaluki.
Hi, Bruce, sorry. I think we could not hear you. I think there's something in the audio.
Hear me?
So would you come back again? I think your audio is not as loud, audible.
The question is that what are some of the strategies you employed during the decolonize campaign that help define youth voice?
Safo,
Yeah.
Safo, please, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's very hard to hear you. Please, if we can kindly check that, please.
We work on that.
Thank
So,
you.
Is it okay now?
Yes, please, you are loud and clear.
Okay, good. Thank you so much for the chat. So, Kaluki, I was asking what's some of the strategies you have which help to amplify the voices of the what are some of the key lessons you learned in that, including looking at campaigning for at COP28 and
Thanks. Allow me to quickly just read the question again for the audience, because I think we still cannot hear you well. So the question was, what were some of the strategies that I employed during the decolonize campaign to amplify youth voices, and the key lessons that I've heard from this campaign for young people who are campaigning towards COP28? Thanks for that question. And to quickly respond, the decolonize campaign was sort of like a national and a global network of like-minded organizations and individuals who came together in just the last decade to, put action together and stop the building of 1050 megawatts of coal-fired power plant in Kenya's UNESCO World Heritage Site of Lamu. And really many thanks to 350 Africa, I think one of the organizers of this call. I was working with them as a communications lead. And my role was actually to help ensure that as much as we are doing on the ground engagement with the communities, we are also tapping to the online audience and literally conveying messaging in a way that will be understandable by communities. And I'll quickly note that actually in Kenya, we have not explored or had projects on call before. So it was a very new territory for us. So in terms of what are some of the strategies we employed, the number one thing was to conduct, community workshops and dialogues. And the main idea was actually to visit the affected communities in Lamu and Kitui areas of Kenya, and engage them on the realities of Kenya's, energy potential, but also the risks that fossil fuel as an energy source would present to the country should we invest in those. So we conducted several community workshops and dialogues to just, help the communities understand the issues around coal, the issues about displacement, should the coal plant be set up in their communities, but also realities about what this means to them, on their health, on their economic activities, and also the culture that they've spent centuries, getting from one generation to the other, that also is being lost. So that was one of the strategy. The other one was more using petitions and protest. In my much younger self, I loved lots of the activism and protests on streets, of course, peaceful protest, because I do know that there's the language of the street and the language of the boardroom, and it's very necessary for us to advocate on the ground and have peaceful protests when there's injustice in our communities. And in this case, Kenya was risking coal plant establishment in the country. So we held several protests and petitions to the government. We actually sued the Kenyan government at the National Environment Tribunal. which I'm happy to say that as of September of 2019, we won that case and the coal plant has not continued. So that was a strong win for the civil society in Kenya. We also engaged communities and our own selves as leaders on NVDA trainings, the nonviolent direct action. And the main aim was, at times as young people, I think one of our panelists also say that, the capacity is important. So even in advocacy, that capacity and knowledge and know-how is really important. So the nonviolent direct action through 350 Africa enabled most of us as leaders and our communities to understand how to even protest, how to write effective petitions, how to work with different pillars that we want to support us towards a successful campaign and project, but also how to galvanize effort from different constituents that would support, safeguarding and protection of people that are affected by such detrimental projects. And so these non-violent direct action trainings were also very important in our campaign, and no wonder we won the court case in 2019. We also got a bit creative, and which I think is what speaks to my storytelling capacity. 350 has enabled and trained me a lot on storytelling and also Youth for Nature, which is one of our main focus areas. So we would host several, photo galleries and documentary screenings to also enable people understand the dangers of coal and fossil fuel investment, drawing inspirations from countries like, or lessons from countries like Mozambique and South Africa, that we know that they're investing a lot on coal, and most of the communities have very serious airborne diseases. Most are really, even having cancer and, terminated pregnancies. So we wanted to make this thing as real as possible and to expose communities to the dangers that, they would expose themselves to should this, coal plant be allowed to push through. We also wrote several publications, and one of those that I'm very proud of was the anti-coal blueprint document that I authored. And ideally, it was just trying to, in a very straightforward and simplified language, to help people understand the issues around coal, the issues of fossil fuels, and why it's important for us to really think together about just energy transition in Africa, and why communities must really center their voices in this transition phase to ensure that we don't leave no one behind, but also in the event of moving and transitioning, we are not further causing more trouble. Or rather, if we choose to invest in obsolete, then what does that mean for communities on the ground? And this publication really helped to expose more communities to the potential of renewable energy and the future that we want, that is guided by Africa communities themselves. And lastly, I'll quickly mention that we also really took advantage of, media interviews in televisions and radio stations, understanding that most of our communities, they rely on radio adverts and radio talks. So we ensure that we carry out these community dialogues on the radio stations that are in the local languages, but also in a way that we also invite the communities to come and give testimonials to the rest of the audiences in Kenya and across the world. And not forgetting, of course, having some site visits that were very important to help ascertain the realities on the ground. And I think these are very important when you're organizing projects, when you're organizing campaigns. You need to understand your audience. You need to understand their language. You need to understand the economic realities and really work with them from where they are. And I think my final statement will be, usually most people go to communities and they assume that these so-called experts have the monopoly of power, whereas in reality, communities have so much lived knowledge and experiences, and always think and say that it's important to first listen to the community, understand their primary issues, and actually work with them to solve their primary issues. Because it's after you solve these primary issues that whatever you thought of the problem will actually be solved. Otherwise, if you don't help communities address the primary issues, they will always welcome you, but they know they're very smart to know what realities is happening. And so they'll not invest to what they've not, they don't have their hearts and their, passion into it. So engage them, know they are equally brave and wise, and use the local knowledge to help work with them towards the solutions. that you want to impact on their communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kaluki. That was very extensive. Thank you so much. And what I get from the strategies that you shared and all of this is that it's very important that as an advocate, you need to understand the local problem, listen more to the community members so that you'll be able to work out the solution together with them. Thank you so much, Kaluki, for this response. Someone just said that I have observed from all the speakers that they all started from grassroots, but determination and consistency is the key, and that's what we need as youth. He said that he also loved what Prince said, that once you are given the platform, you should be able to project yourself. But then, Jennifer, let us come to you. You know, Prince was talking about grants being unsustainable for the running of businesses, especially green businesses. And usually we talk about the need for government to create an enabling environment for green businesses like yours to thrive. And it's interesting that this is one thing that many governments in Africa do not have. But what does this enabling environment mean to you? And what are specific things our leaders can do to enable businesses like yours to reach your vision of becoming a household name?
Yeah, thank you, Samuel. So I believe that enabling environments starts from how are the startups like myself, how are they supported that our operations can be more like accessible, because what is required, usually innovations like these are very capital intensive, but that is just for like the initial setup, and over time it is more impactful and more profiteering. But usually when you're starting it from the fresh and is that capital intensive and you don't have the supports, you tend to struggle for a lot of years. And I have struggled for so many years, even though in between you do get some support, some funding, but they come in bits. So they are not always that substantial to give you, that kind of a full-scale support that you need. So an enabling environment would be that our leaders, the government, civil society organizations, as yourself, as SYND, would also help us in accessing some of these funding opportunities that really help us with being able to set up the innovation systems. Because one thing is, mostly when we are talking about the impacts and we are talking about affecting the locals, we know how the locals are very sensitive when it comes to pricing. I mean, it might be so good, but if the price is over the roof, you're not going to get them to patronize. And it's a business. It is not an NGO yet. So yes, we are also looking at being able to sustain the business with, providing the products and also getting a payment. So in that medium, we have to find like a middle ground where we can make it affordable whilst our business is also sustained. Because if we find ourselves in the position where we are making it affordable all the time for the markets, for our target markets, and the business isn't getting, more like profit back to be able to constantly be in operations, then we are also going to be out of business in no time. So we do need access to the funding options that we can get to really help us to, cut down on the cost that wouldn't have to be shifted on the end consumer, being local markets, so that they can still enjoy this affordable clean cooking fuel that we are making available to them. And the other thing would also be the regulatory frameworks. We live in a regulated society, so we know that you can't just get up and set up a business. You have to go through certain systems. And these systems, sometimes they become very bureaucratic, they become very tedious. There's a whole lot for you to do just before you can access a certain market. Whereas that market also needs your products. But it's almost like you have to go through the pain to make sure that you can, check all the boxes that the regulatory bodies have given you to check before you can serve that particular market. And to do that, it really takes a lot. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy. So if you're not very committed to your journey, if you're not very committed to still making sure that you really get to access those markets, then you probably will just ignore them or forget about them and just focus on what might be a lot more easier for you to do. And that wouldn't also help, because if you do have such a huge impact to achieve, but you're not optimizing that full impact, then it's almost as if you are not doing what you set out to do, which would be pointless. So we do need that support system in the regulatory frameworks where even if we do have to do these things, it shouldn't be so tedious. It shouldn't be so financial burden on us. I mean, there has to be certain incentives. I know there are a couple there already, but even with assessing them currently, it still has to go through such a bureaucratic, process. But then we do hope that we can have the support system in these regulatory frameworks that would help us to easily navigate through us being able to check all the boxes when it comes to us being certified by the boards, for example, by EPA, by Ghana standards. Because yes, just because we are bringing out an innovation doesn't mean we should just be allowed to roam about, do anything as we please. We have to also be guided just to be sure that we are doing things the right way as we are saying it. So we do need the support systems out there. And the last would be the markets. I think that will also have to do a lot with sensitization, would do a lot with communication with the media, and getting your information out there right now. It's free in a way, but it's not very free. We do know social media is out there, but one thing is most of the markets that practically would be using our products are not always on the social media. For example, our mothers that will be using the charcoal most often are not always on the social media. For us to, even the young ones that we find ourselves mostly on the social media, we probably not going to always be looking for these kind of contents. I don't think most young people on the social media are looking for renewable energy content all the time. So even as much as the platform is there for us, it's still a long way for us to be able to get the message out there. And mostly, if you have to do it, you have to do it per the traditional way most of the time, like the local PA systems, the media outlets, the radio stations, the TV, because these are things that, at least if you want to really reach out to a lot of your the markets, being most of the aged people or most of the middle-aged people, like our parents, uncles and aunties and all that, they are still glued to their radios and their TV. So yes, they would also get to hear of this information. And most often they are even the ones that would make the decision. Okay, yes, we are buying charcoal, this kind of charcoal for the household. You, the son or the daughter, you don't really get to make that decision most often. It's still your mom that will decide, yes, I want this or I want that. So for them to make that decision, they need to be informed as to this is out there for them and this is a good product for them. So when there is still the challenge of being able to access these platforms on a cost-free base or on a very reduced cost base, it becomes a problem for us. So we are also looking at maybe if the whole media, the whole everybody being out there for sustainability, everybody being out there advocating for climate action, most often they should try and give us these incentives that when these innovative products that are geared towards sustainability and climate actions are looking for promotion through their mediums, then they can easily do that. So I do believe these are the ways that we can support innovative green businesses in our sector.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jennifer, for that insightful response. But I want to come to Joy. Joy, in your journey in amplifying youth, your voice, the voice of young people, what has been some of the challenges you have faced that, I don't know, probably made you lose passion, or maybe it rather made you more resilient to saying that, hey, I'm going to continue on this path and make sure that I achieve whatever goal and objective I've set for this particular campaign. Over to you, Joy. Okay, I think Joy is off. Okay, so then let me come to Prissy. Prissy, we've realized that you engage a lot of young green entrepreneurs because you run the Young Green Entrepreneurs Project. So per your engagement with them, what do you think, or what would you suggest will be some of the things they should do to harness opportunities such as found at COP28? As we boil towards COP28, what do you think are some of the opportunities young green entrepreneurs can look out for and harness them so that they can find themselves on international platforms such as COP28? Over to you, Prissy.
Hi, Safo. Thank you for that question again. So in my engagement with young green entrepreneurs, I've found that harnessing opportunities like COP and all those other international conferences or forums, it requires strategic approach and a very proactive engagement. You need to be strategic as a green entrepreneur. Why am I saying this? You need to be informed. Sorry. Hello, Safo, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Prissy.
All right.
We can hear you.
As I was saying, you need to be informed on the agenda or the key themes of whatever conference or forum you are attending, whether it's being COP, whether it's being SC4, or whether it's being African Climate Week or whatever. You need to know what is happening there. You need to get the agenda. You need to join webinars like this Road to COP to get detailed information on the event or forum you are attending. This will help you to align your thoughts or your whatever you seek to achieve at that particular forum. It will help you to prioritize and know where important discussions or decisions are going to be made. And then you'll be able to do it, position yourself where you'll be able to make you'll be able to contribute meaningfully to whatever discussion that's going on. So you don't need to be you need to be at the right place at the right time. Let me put it that way. You need to be at the right place at the right time. And also, I would say that to harness opportunities, young green entrepreneurs need to seek opportunities themselves. You can't be static. Prince was saying that he made a sacrifice. He had to defer his last semester to become Econexus now. You need to make sacrifices. You need to go for opportunities. Opportunities will not just come and land on you because you have the brilliant innovation or your intervention. No, you need to pursue some opportunities, just as Prince said. And this will help you to do it, to showcase your innovations to people. So when you go to forums, you also have to pursue opportunities. You join sessions that are contributing or are of interest to you. You don't go to forums and then you're a green entrepreneur and then you are going to join a side event on water and sanitation. If that's not your interest, no. You need to go for side events or exhibition, even if it's not, even if it's an exhibition that's not something that you are into. Just going to watch what has been exhibited. How are people pitching their ideas? How is the networking session going on and all that? You get to, network and it's been connected with people who are also there. So you still on my point that you need to be at the right place at the right time. Also, I think that to harness opportunities, young green entrepreneurs need to align themselves with strategic coalition or organizations. Why am I saying that? Funding come and they give it to recognized entities, they give it to recognized organizations in countries. When you align yourself with these organizations or coalition, you're at high, the potency of you getting funding from this organization is high because you belong to their coalition, and that when any when any funding comes, they know they have a green entrepreneur who is doing something and needs support, and then they would give that funding support to you. You can't do everything on your own. So having a collective action or joining a coalition or an organization that is well recognized can also better your chances of harnessing some opportunities when it comes to winning this support to upskill your business as a green entrepreneur. And then I would also like to talk about the power of storytelling and then communication, which I know that's what has built Paul to be who he is, as he said. You need to be very, very good in communication, because you can have the best of ideas, you can have the best of interventions, but if you can't communicate your issues, or you can't pitch your ideas as a green entrepreneur to your investor, to a potential investor, I mean, like, you won't get the needed support that you need. You need to give compelling narrative, like your storytelling should be apt. You should tell a story that will be breathtaking. Like, when someone hears the story that you are telling, they are moved to give you the needed support that you need. So I think by having effective communication, green entrepreneurs can also attract the needed attention that they need. So for me, I would say that you need to be strategic and very proactive when as a green entrepreneur when you attend such events. And please, you need to be at the right place at the right time. I'm saying this, you need, as a green entrepreneur, you need to be at the right place at the right time, because at the SC4, I attended SC4 in Kigali, Rwanda. And then we were to go for a gala, a gala at a venue. So we actually had a side event by Bloomberg Philanthropists. So we're like, oh, okay, my team and I were like, okay, then let's go to the side event. So after the side event, then we moved to the gala. I mean, it's party, there is food and everything. So most definitely there will be enjoyment. But then we were still contemplating on where to go first, whether to go to the food or whether to go to the side events. But I mean, food is very important because it gives you energy to, speak to partners. So then we're like, okay, we'll divide ourselves into two. The first two will go to the gala, go and then be giving us updates. And then the rest of the two of us will also go to the side event to listen to whatever is happening. And it was by Bloomberg Philanthropists, sorry. So they were discussing on entrepreneurship, climate finance, and all that. So we met one lady, she was with the Bloomberg Philanthropist. And then after her speech, we spoke to her, that we really liked her inputs. And then my deputy executive coordinator was there. So it was like, I should speak to the lady, he will be back. And then I was telling her what SYND does, what we do. And then I brought the idea of our Young Green Entrepreneurs program. By then, we have already had some engagement with the Young Green Entrepreneurs. So I even showed her some of the pictures and then the displays that our Young Green Entrepreneurs have done. So she was like, oh, that's a very good intervention. So we would then talk after. Not knowing she was also going to the gala after the side event. So then we sat in the same bus, and she sat close to my my deputy executive coordinator. Then I was like, oh, then it's over to you. I think you will continue the partnership discussion from then. Right from there, long story short, we now have support from them to work on our Young Green Entrepreneurs Program, which was launched this year, and it's running very smoothly and all that. What am I saying? You need to be at the right place at the right time. If my communication wasn't good, I'm not sure she would have even listened to it. She was going to the gala, so she would have said, oh, I'm going to the gala, so maybe we will meet some. So your communication as a green entrepreneur has to be good. You need to have very effective communication, because you are working with people. You need to communicate well. You need to communicate once and be heard. Whatever you are saying, if it's pitch deck or whatever, you are pitching your intervention or your project to someone, the person should be able to understand what you are saying, and then to capture that, oh, this is something very inspiring. How can I support this person? But if people have to, get back to you to confirm something that you said, no, I don't think that would help you as a green entrepreneur to get the needed attention or help that you need. But if you make your storytelling very interesting, you give real life situations, things that are happening, things that you've solved, like you add data, you add facts to it, then you are getting somewhere, and then you can get the needed attention or the needed support that you need from your potential investors or someone who wants to help you. So if you ask me, these are some of the ways that young green entrepreneurs can harness opportunities at these international forums. And thank you.
Amazing. I mean, if I'm an investor, if I were to be an investor, I think your compelling narrative would have made me also invest in this project as well. Thank you so much, Bracy, for your compelling narrative. Thank you so much. But this is the point where the zenith of the whole episode of this webinar series, and sometimes we would like to even continue, but at this moment, if there are questions, if there are contributions that our cherished partners participants would want to ask or add, please, you can do so in the chat box. You can ask your questions, you can add your contributions to this conversation. Let's populate the chat box with questions, and then we can have them we can have our responses from our panelists. You can also use the reaction emoji by lifting your hand up, and then you'll be given the opportunity to speak, if you may. But as we wait for questions to come up, Priscilla was speaking about how young green entrepreneurs need to couch their compelling narrative to make sure that in their pitching competitions, in the process of even gaining funding from possible partners or donors, it is important to have a compelling narrative. And Paul, I realize that you have storytelling as one of your major skill, and so we want to find out from you how essential this skill is to ensuring that the lot of youth voices can be amplified. And as we even go towards COP28, how can we strategically use storytelling as one of our skills to make sure that our voices are heard as we even go to COP28?
Thank you so much. That's a very important question. And I start by saying that stories have power and stories live. So I think it's very important for us to know what story we want to promote, what story we want to tell, and how we want to tell it. Because it's very easy to tell a story to break, but you can also use a story to make. It's also very easy to tell a story and demote people, but you can use a story to actually promote. But also, it's easy to tell a story that will be disastrous, but it's also very possible to tell a story that is full of stories. So I think one thing I want to encourage, especially young people from across Africa, we know our stories have been told most of the times by outsiders. people who don't understand and live the realities that we have on the ground. People who don't understand that over 60% of the youth population, they're well educated, but they don't have jobs. People who don't understand that we need finance unlocked to enable us to do the projects that we need to do and scale in our communities and on the ground. So I think for African youth, it's time for us to take up the mandate and actually tell these stories in our very own authentic ways. Tell these stories as they are. Tell the stories of resilience in your communities, because I don't believe it's enough that people keep talking about Africa. Of course, we are the worst hit by the climate crisis and everything, but I also think Africans are showing some serious leadership. We are building resilience. We are working on more restoration projects. We are working on more farm-based and organic production systems. So I think, especially for young people that are planning to join the global delegation to COP28 in the UAE, I hope we can package our stories very well, no matter how tiny or small it is. Please own that narrative, own that story, and carry it to the COP. If you're working on a restoration project, please package that story very well. Know what the issue is, what the solution is, and what your intervention is. Just tell it as it is. And I think that is one way to ensure that young Africans who are joining these global climate delegations and going to these conferences actually have a lasting footprint, they have a lasting impact, and they work actively to ensure that we change the narrative of Africa and we showcase Africa as a solutions bearer, not just a region that is stricken by challenges. So I hope we can remember that as we go to COP, but also knowing that ideally in our stories, we need to have a strong call to action. What do we need? I know, having worked in Africa for over 5 years now, finance and financial support is very important. And so don't shy away from telling that story. Tell the story and ask for the financing, ask for the technical skills that you need support on, and ask for the capacity that you need to be built on. Also, remember that when people are talking about loss and damage, of course, it will be a key discussion again at COP28. What are the opportunities for young people? How do we present loss and damage in a way that it's not like a favor the global north is doing to Africa and developing world, but actually an opportunity to collaborate and help communities in developing world to build cushioning ecosystems and systems in the face of the climate crisis. So let us also have a narrative that is compelling enough on loss and damage, and let the young Africans own up the space. I will finish by saying that in our storytelling, perhaps that's one area that we are going to create the new jobs of the 21st century, that through telling the stories of resilience, stories of restoration, and stories of on-the-ground work that all of us are doing across Africa, we actually present the case for people to invest. And I've seen a lot of finances and microgrants going actually to support young people that want to tell their stories differently, young people that want to showcase the resilience and projects that they're doing on their communities, and young people who actually want to show the faith and the resilience of their communities to the global stage. So let us take advantage. We have the smartphones, we have technology with us, and we have our brains that are very brilliant to tell our stories. Let's go out there, let's tell these stories, let's own our narratives, and let us be a positive people for a positive continent that is Africa.
Thank you so much, Kaluki. I think it was the right question for me to ask, because myself, I'm inspired. Stories are going to be the conduits for even the creation of jobs in the 21st century. Stories have power. Stories have the ability to turn things around. Make sure you tell your own story, and do not let outsiders rather tell your story, because probably it can be fabricated. We just want to make all of us aware once again that this is the 3rd edition of SYND Road to COP28 webinar series, hosted by the Strategic Youth Network for Development, supported by 350 Africa, British High Commission, Youth and Rec, and Africa Climate Project, Reality Project. Thank you so much for staying with us, but we would like to take questions from our participants, contributions from our participants. Let's get interactive. Someone just sent a contribution saying that this is a very insightful conversation. Yeah, that's great. That's great. We'll want your questions to also come in. You can raise your hand using the reactional emoji, and then you also be given the opportunity to speak if you may. But as we still wait for our cherished participants to come up with their questions, I want to come to you, Prince, if you're still on the call, so that we have a bit of a response to one of the questions that came up. Clearly, you've given us your experiences on international platforms, COP, Africa Energy Competition, the very first one you attended. But I think it would be interesting to also help our participants who also probably have green businesses and are struggling. They are in the struggling stage. What are some of the strategies from your experience and what you have seen that they can employ to make sure that they can win funding, probably make it sustainable, or funding to also go up the ladder to the next phase? What are some of the strategies, practical steps you can also share with us to make sure that they are recognized and visible?
Yeah, thank you very much, Safo. That is a very good question. I mean, my colleague Jennifer, she has, I mean, mentioned a lot of points in connection with this particular question. But what I would say, what I will add up, is that to be in the green space, it's not an easy task. Sustainability itself is not cheap; it's expensive, you know. And you being a green business startup, a lot of the funding opportunities that you may have, I mean, even mainstream funding from banks, commercial financial institutions will want to look at you as a mainstream business, want to see some kind of traction and all those things. Those conversations are like crazy for me because a lot of the times a green startup is mostly under-resourced, you understand? So you can only leverage on grant opportunities. And some of the times, the grant cycle is really, it can be very frustrating. You have to go through 3 months, 6 months, a year, even a year training program before you can even get to pitch. And if you are not lucky, you don't get it, you understand? So one thing I would say that if you ever make it like a goal to journey on this particular path, and should you chance on any grant opportunity or be in a shortlisted like kind of competition, what I would advise is that, I mean, it is a springboard for you. And in any springboard, even if you decide to raise your leg or something, you will definitely jump. You definitely go high, you know. So you see those platforms as like bigger springboards, jump as high as you can. And you can only do that, like Kaluki said, you really need to, I mean, leverage on storytelling. You understand? You have an amazing product. If you can't really connect with the audience, you can't really, I mean, let people understand the kind of impact that you are promoting. It is very difficult for anyone to stand up and throw money your way. You understand? And like I said earlier, it's one thing having like an innovative idea, another thing surviving in the industry or surviving in the ecosystem, you know. So you need to have that kind of, be in that position. Your storytelling game should be A1. If you I mean, an entry point to some of these grants is more most of the time on pitch decks, you know, preparing pitch decks and all those things. There are a lot of platforms that you can use to prepare a compelling pitch, you understand? And also embrace the issue of like a mentorship, you understand? Embrace like mentorship, you know, be ready to unlearn to learn, you know. You don't know it all, or like in as much
Yeah.
as it's your domain, you might not have all the answers, you understand? So connect with people who have done it before. Jennifer is there, myself, we are all around. And then thankfully, SYND has a young green entrepreneurs like network, tap into them, like get connected, like be in the pipeline. You can't do this alone. You can't stand alone and do this, you understand? So you definitely would need support. It's also be ready to unlearn, to be ready to receive mentorship, you understand? And again, one of the things that you need to also understand is that I always say, this is one rule that has been guiding me. 100% of zero is still zero. So if it comes to that point of collaborating or having partnership to grow, please tap, like leverage on that. Don't say that it is my idea, so it is mine alone. Whilst there's someone with a deep pocket or someone who can complement you in the journey, just bring the person closer. You understand? And then Jenny alone, I met my co-founder at African Climate Innovation, the first one in Ghana. I was speaking at that event. We connected, and not knowing she had a background which looks like mine. She lost a childhood best friend as a result of LPG fire outbreak. So she was enraged, like just like me. You understand? Having my grandmother being paralyzed because of snake bites. You understand? So that was where the conversation started growing. You understand? I had a technical background. She had that kind of like PR stuff. We connected. We developed strategies to grow. We went through a lot of mentorship. You understand? As we speak, we can't underrate the importance of role models. You understand? And every entrepreneur, everyone who want to do something should be able to have a role model, someone you want to, like, you look up to. You understand? And I can't say much on mentorship because that is the backbone of like everything that we do in this space. And I also want to say this. See, we can't all do great things, okay? But at least we can do small things with great passion. You understand? So if you don't have the concept, the business, the innovative idea, and all those things now, you can join network like SYND, join a campaign, connect. I found my co-founder on a certain platform which is connected to what I'm doing. You understand? So be ready to be visible, like show up, like just connect. You understand? Whatever network you find in the ecosystem, just be there, like engage, and you never know how the conversation will go. You meet someone who will be thinking about the same thing that you're also thinking about. You understand? And then it will come from there. You understand? And I must tell you, there are emerging opportunities coming in the green space, the sustainability space, the impact space. You understand? And we can, all of us here, we can't do it all. So we need all of you to jump on board. It might not necessarily be a business. It can be an initiative targeted at empowering or improving livelihoods in a certain community. Just take the chance. You understand? Just take the chance, show up, be ready for the journey, and be willing to pay the price. You can't succeed at anything without you paying the price. And there's no sudden flight when it comes to these things, So be willing to go through that kind of process. Jennifer started way back. I started as way back. You understand? And that is the characteristics of any great thing. You understand? We all didn't just stand up and then out of the blue, like we are we are at this place, or we are at this stage. We have to go through a certain process. Be mindful of that. You understand? And I think we can do great. Yep.
Thank you very much, Prince. But before I go to the next panelist, just give us your parting remarks. What would you want to add as a closing remarks to our participants on the call?
Yeah. Okay. So I would want to thank everyone for the audience, and then most importantly, you are not actually on this platform just by chance. There's actually a connection to why you are here. So I want you to take a few takeaways and then ponder over them. Our doors are always open. Connect with us. Let's see how best we can also help you grow in the space. As I said, don't be under any pressure to do something big now. Just stay connected to whatever network you are. If you have an idea and you want to grow the idea, there are a lot of insightful things that have been shared here. Pick some and then move with it. But if you ever need assistance, please don't hesitate to call on us. And I think it is a great time to be young, and it is a great time to be an African. So let's leverage on this particular season to add our voice, contribute our quota to the sustainability of our continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prince, for staying all throughout the call. Prissy, please kindly add your voice to the parting remarks to our participants who joined the call.
Thank you, Safo. I think Prince has said it all. To those of us on the call who are aspiring to be young green entrepreneurs, because that's something I'm very passionate about. You don't need to start big, you need to start small, because hearing from all the panelists, you see they all started from somewhere. They didn't just bloom into the beautiful flower they are today. They started small, they started in their own corner, they sought the right mentorship, they've followed the lead of someone who inspired them, someone who they looked up to, and look at where they are today. Listen to the beautiful stories, the inspiring stories that they are giving us this morning. So I would urge each and every one of us that we should take passion in what we do. We shouldn't be in a hurry to make it big, because you need to start from somewhere. You can't just get up and then just make things happen. Even if you have the right resources, you still need hands, you still need experts, you still need the technical knowledge as to how to go about it. So that would be my departing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Priscilla Adogo Ahiada, for staying all throughout the call. Kaluki, I realize that most of your citizens from Kenya were on the call. What would you tell them as staying on the call and listening to the conversations that went all through?
Thank you. I want to appreciate everyone from Kenya who came to support me, but also all other African and regional compatriots. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. But just one parting shot, I'll say that just like a candle never loses its light by lighting others, we never lose our power by holding others. So as African youth, let's remember to hold one another's hand. Let's support where we can. And let's remember, it's never about competition, but complementation, right? So with our different skills, let's support one another, teach each other, and know that whatever space we occupy it not for ourselves, but for other people. And we owe it to, the other people and the future generations to actually create more space, open up the barriers, and reduce the, lack of engagement that has always persisted in the spaces. So let's go out there, support each other, and just unlock the barriers that we know in our communities. I know we can do it. So, and thank you so much, SYND, for organizing this very informative session.
Thank you so much for staying throughout the call. Your knowledge is much appreciated. All that you shared is much appreciated. Jennifer, please, your parting remarks, please.
Yeah, so I would like to say that for all aspiring green entrepreneurs, I'm glad you are looking to do this. And it's not going to be an easy journey, so you should definitely brace yourself for it. And you should also try and do this for the right reasons. It should be more about the impact than the profits, because I think from my experience, it's going to take a long while before you get to see some profits, but then it's still fulfilling for you to get to see the impact. And also, as Prince said, you know, usually when it comes to these kinds of projects or innovations, you can never really do it alone. You might be an expert in a certain field, but you definitely would need a team to help you build a dream bigger. So don't set out the journey alone. Look for people, competent people that can help you make the work easier, so that in any case, you know, the combined force can help achieve your dream easily or much more quicker than just doing it all alone. So that's just a bit I have for you.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much. And so to all our panelists, we are so grateful. As a matter of fact, we cannot thank you enough for staying all throughout the call.